Is China building a secret military base in the Maldives? We are not the ones asking that question. This is an allegation being made by some of the most powerful voices in the Maldives, by leaders who are known to be responsible and could be in government after the next elections. We bring you a story which is likely to have major implications for the security and power politics of South Asia and the Indo-Pacific. On the 28th of March, a memorandum of understanding was signed between China and the Maldives. Now, this MOU allowed China's harbour engineering company to carry out a project in the Maldives. What kind of project, you ask? China claims it is developing an agricultural economic zone in the Maldives. And for that, China will first reclaim land, then the agricultural project will start. This is the island where all of this is happening. It is called Uthuru Thila Falhu. This island is part of the atoll that is the closest to India. What are the chances China is secretly building an outpost here? And who can guarantee that the Chinese engineers working here are not actually PLA commanders? Can the Maldivian president, Mohamed Moizu, guarantee that is the question. I doubt it. The Maldives' own opposition is skeptical. The chairperson of the MDP, the Maldivian Democratic Party, in fact, has said, and I'm quoting here, China's intentions are not rooted in agriculture. Near the designated area lies the MNDF, Maldives National Defense Force Harbour. They are positioning themselves strategically in front of the MNDF harbour, originating from a distant and powerful nation to undertake military operations, quote unquote. The Chinese company working on the island is called the China Harbour Engineering. It happens to be the same company, in fact, that developed the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. You know, the port that China eventually used to debt trap Sri Lanka. This Chinese company also allegedly has direct links to the PLA. It regularly carries out military projects. Reports say the China Harbour Engineering functions under a special commission, one that reports directly to the State Council. In fact, Bangladesh has banned this company. You know why? Because it was caught trying to bribe a senior government official. You heard that right. This Chinese company has reportedly carried out land reclamation projects in the South China Sea as well. The islands it created went on to be used by the PLA for military purposes. So is it just a coincidence that the same company has now landed in the Maldives? Beijing could very well have asked China Harbour Engineering to follow the South China Sea template in the Maldives. You know, reclaim land first and then make it suitable for militarization. This Chinese company is the perfect smokescreen for a covert PLA operation. Just tell me one thing. Is it also just a coincidence that Uthuru Thila Falhu was chosen for this project? Do you know how many islands the Maldives has? 1,190. 164 of these islands have been developed as tourist resorts. The locals live in 200 islands. How many left? Over 800. All of these are uninhabited. Some of them, in fact, are used for agriculture or other purposes, but most have little to no human activity. So are you telling me that of the remaining 800 uninhabited islands spread over 90,000 square kilometers, China found Uthuru Thila Falhu the most suitable for an agricultural economic zone? For starters, there isn't even enough land here. The Chinese are trying to reclaim at least 200 hectares. Why go through all that trouble when you can simply pick another island? This atoll is not even positioned centrally. Transporting agricultural produce from here to, say, the Ado city in the south will be quite a chore. The opposition, in fact, is pointing out that Lamu atoll already has the land for such an agricultural project. What's more, it's also more suitable for agricultural activities. So why didn't China choose Lamu? Because it's not close enough to India. China, you see, does not care about the Maldives' food security or self-sufficiency. It has other priorities like militarization, expansionism, challenging India, and Uthuru Thila Falhu fits perfectly into China's plan. Just look at how close it is to Minicoy. This is the perfect island for a Chinese military outpost. Is that what China is building here, is the question. In 2017, China opened its first outpost in the Indian Ocean. It was in Djibouti, the Horn of Africa. In 2022, the Chinese began talks with the Comoros. As I speak, there is Chinese-linked activity in Myanmar's Coco Island. China also has some degree of influence in Kenya's Mombasa port. It has 49% ownership of the Sudan port. It controls Sri Lanka's Hambantota. Of course, Pakistan's Gwadar port. China has also leased Australia's Darwin port. It has a degree of influence in Bangladesh's Chittagong port. Is Uthuru Thila Falhu next? Also, does Moizu not see this? Is he blinded by greed, or has Moizu been ordered by the Chinese to look the other way? In 2023, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and his then Maldivian counterpart, Maria Didi, had laid the foundation stone for the Coast Guard Ekatha Harbour at Sifavaru, at this same atoll, Uthuru Thila Falhu. The project was supposed to strengthen the capacity of the Maldivian Coast Guard, enable the Maldives to maintain and repair its naval vessel, make the archipelago more self-sufficient. Also facilitate humanitarian assistance and disaster relief efforts. Uthuru Thila Falhu was supposed to host a modern military base for the Maldives. Beijing has sold a lie of farming in this island, of producing enough crops for at least 200,000 people. And Moizu is dancing to Chinese tunes, covering up for the covert Chinese operation by pointing at India. On Tuesday, the opposition raised concern about what was happening in the Uthuru Thila Falhu. The very next day, Moizu came out with a statement. He did not say a word about China or the Chinese project. You know what he did instead? He said the remaining Indian troops stationed in the Maldives will leave, quote-unquote, within the current month. You see, the signs have been there for a while now. Moizu had a very public anti-India campaign. He broke long-established diplomatic traditions. He chose China, not India, for his first official international visit. The Maldives then signed a secret defense deal with China. In January, Moizu allowed Chinese spy ship to dock in Mali. The MDP chairman believes that the spy ship had been mapping underwater terrain over the past few months after entering the Maldivian territorial water. Such data, like underwater seabed, water salinity, they are intel gold mines for submarine operations. Every step of this way, we have been telling you that Moizu is letting China take control of its waters. He is facilitating a Chinese takeover of the Maldives, enabling it. Moizu does not mind if the Maldives' sovereignty is crushed, if Maldivian interests are compromised. His eyes are on the Chinese checkbook, and China's are on India, and India's expanding role in the Indian Ocean. How else do you explain the timing of all of this? A military deal between China and the Maldives is signed days before India commissions INS Jatayu in Minicoy. This Indian naval base is all of 450 kilometers from Mali. Before the month ends, we have reports of suspicious Chinese activity in the Maldives' atoll closest to Minicoy. Everyone can see what's happening. It's crystal clear, much like the waters of the Maldives that the Chinese now rule. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.